Here we are. Time for a little therapy session here. Chargers dropped this one on Sunday night to the San Francisco 49ers to a much closer game, as Jamie said right before we got on here, than we both expected. But Jamie, big of a bummer and kind of a harder pill to swallow here with as close as this game was.
Yeah, I kind of expected them to get blown out. I just didn't think they had the defensive personnel, particularly up front, to stay in the game. And I didn't expect the offense to be aggressive enough to be able to push the ball down the field and score points. So I figured they'd get blown out. So to see them, have a lead for the majority of the game and hang in there and have a couple chances at the end to potentially come back was, I guess, a positive, if you want to look at it that way. Did not expect that to happen. But watching them just get picked apart by the running game and not have any answers for much of anything in the second half was very frustrating.
Yeah. It felt like they ran the ball like halfway through that third quarter all the way into the fourth quarter. I mean, they just got killed on that running game early on. I know only having three healthy interior defensive linemen didn't help, but really, defensively, I think they fought their asses off. I thought they did really well the entire game, gave them a chance to win at the end twice there. And, coming away with 0 second half points is, I think, where this fault lies. It's obviously hard to win football games when you can't score in the second half. And, you have two chances to win the game. I know they got screwed on that touchback call on that second drive, but couldn't get a measly first down on both drives. I mean, they just weren't getting it done. Not having Keenan there, not having Mike there, not having Pipkins, and every other excuse obviously doesn't help. But they did enough to score 16 points in that first half, and they just couldn't put it together in the second half.
Yeah, I thought there were really kind of three turning points in this game, three key moments that didn't go the Chargers' way that decided the game, and two of them really had to do with not really capitalizing on turnovers or at least short fields. When they get that turnover, when they force the fumble by Ayuk on a short field in the first or second quarter, that you're thinking, I think at that point they're up 7-3. They've got a chance to go down and go up 14-3 ideally. They wind up going up 10-3. Not getting 7 points on that drive really hurt. The next one was after the block punt, not a turnover, but a short field. And again, I think they get the ball inside the 40-yard line. And they wind up settling for 3 points again. That really hurt. And then it really looked like Herbert was going to will them to a touchdown at the end of the first half when they get the ball back with 2 minutes to go and 3 timeouts. And that dirty hit by Dre Greenlaw, lowering his helmet after Herbert was already down and trying to take Herbert out basically with the crown of his helmet, completely changed the game. The Chargers had all the momentum at that point. I think they still had 2 timeouts. They were in a position to go down. I think they were on the 20-yard line or thereabouts. They were in position to go down and probably score a touchdown, and it seemed like Herbert was just going to do kind of what Herbert does and take over those final 2 minutes and put points on the board. He takes that hit. He has to come out of the game, and it was really downhill from there. I mean, that was basically the end of the game for them, but not taking advantage of those 2 short fields and having to settle for 3 field goals in prime scoring position, it changed the whole complexion of the game. It allowed the Niners to keep running the ball, allowed them to not have to lean on Jimmy to win the game. And I think that's ultimately what won it for them. The Niners defense made their adjustments. The Chargers offense really never adjusted in the second half, and the game was over.
Yeah. The 49ers really got lucky that they had to take Herbert out and assess him, which I think is probably the right call, and you want to err on the side of safety. But the fact that it's not like universal throughout the league kind of stinks on this case. But obviously you want Herbert to be safe. And to have Chase Daniel come in and he throws 2 uncatchable balls to Eckler right off the bat and then tucks it and run on third down. I mean, he just looked absolutely frightened to be out there during that drive when they really needed points. And, they got the field goal, which was nice. But, yeah, I mean, they were driving. They were on the road to getting 6, or you thought they were on the road to getting 6, and then that hit by Dre Greenlaw changed the momentum, and then all of a sudden it's Chase Daniel, and then the Chargers really, quite honestly, offensively never really recovered after that.
Yeah, it was the end of the game. They really never recovered. They never I don't think they had more than 2 first downs in the second half. I mean, they didn't move the ball at all in the second half.
Yeah, I think less
Um,
than 60 yards of offense in the second half.
yeah, before the Niners got the ball on that final possession, um, after the turnover on downs down in the Chargers end of the field,
Hmm.
they had the NBC put a graphic up that showed the number of plays the Niners had run to the Chargers. And at that point, the Niners had run 39 plays in the second half to the Chargers 18. And the Niners ran 3 more plays after that. So 42-18 in the second half. The Chargers were going 3-and-out basically the entire second half. Like I said, I think they might have had 2 first downs the entire second half. They just could not move the ball. And I think the bigger thing is when the Chargers are at their best, Herbert is kind of freewheeling and he's playing free and he's making things happen.
Hmm.
He's looking more and more like the Oregon robot that we
Hmm.
saw coming out of college. It's one read and check down as games go on, and he's taking hits and he's having to save himself with his legs. It's one read and check down. In a lot of cases, it's just check down. There's not even one read, and they have no answers. If they can't pass protect, it's just screen, stick, punt.
Hmm.
Basically, there's no creativity. There's no answers for much of anything, and it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, yeah. When you have 3 third down plays that go to two of them going to Trey McKitty and one of them going to Richard Rodgers in front of the sticks on third down, just watching that play live, there were players running past the sticks, but just whether Herbert didn't like it or they weren't open enough, he was always getting that check down, which is something we're not used to seeing. He even in the first half, you saw him air it out on a third down to Joshua Palmer in the end zone where he kind of overthrew him a little bit, but he was taking chances. But it just felt like once the 49ers kind of clamped down and they made their adjustments on those deep drags that weren't happening to DeAndre Carter so much anymore, and they're putting the top on the defense, it just seemed like that check down was what Herbert kept looking to. And, Lombardi has hurt this offense all year. This game isn't a reflection of him. He's been an issue all year. But also you got to fault Justin Herbert too in the fact that he's just seems to me like checking down a lot more than he is used to, and that we've seen him do in the past.
Yeah, there are certain looks that lead to an auto, like basically an auto check down. It's like a default check down, and then obviously they don't trust Foster Sorrell to block, which
Mm-hmm.
I understand.
Yeah.
But they're at a point where they have to get the ball out in like 2 seconds, or Justin's getting hurt or getting hit at least. So they really don't have a lot of options. And I thought they did a good job in the first half, particularly on that first drive of using play action to get guys deep in the intermediate part of the field.
Mm-hmm.
They did it a little bit for the majority of the first half to set up a couple of their scores, but it really went away in the second half. They could not get the ball down the field at all.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it's the wide receivers, but part of it is scheme. They're predictable. They just always default to stick, and defenses know it. And that 49er defense is really well coached. They're
Mm-hmm.
super athletic. They're smart. They're instinctive. You can't just run the same plays over and over and over again and expect success. They're going to jump those routes. I'm actually surprised they didn't have 2 or 3 picks today on tip passes, because I was expecting the 49ers linebackers and safeties to clamp down on those routes and get some breaks on them and have a chance to turn the ball over. So fortunate they only had 1 pick, and it was on a ball where Herbert's arm got hit as he was releasing
Mm-hmm.
it. But
Yeah.
they're too predictable. They're too limited. Lombardi just isn't creative enough to find ways to scheme people open. You see flashes of it with the wheel routes and finding, using motion to get guys in space and things like that. And then as soon as that works for a first down, it's right back to stick. There's just no creativity. There's no effort to help guys get open. They're just running the same routes over and over and over again with lousy spacing, lousy route structure, and teams are ready for it.
Yeah, well, yeah, clearly. There was obviously a big adjustment for the 49ers in that second half. It just seemed like there were some drags and some deep outs that DeAndre Carter was pretty open on that first half, and that all but got squashed in the second half. And yeah, I mean, yeah, they had there was a lot of missed opportunities today, even including a couple drops. Trey McKitty having that really really bad drop up the seam, which probably could have been a touchdown. Not a great showing from Trey McKitty all around today, to be honest with you. Your third round pick after Gerald Everett goes down, they just don't have the options behind him.
No, they don't. And McKitty is terrible.
Yeah,
Whether Everett's on the field or not, McKitty's
yeah.
terrible. I mean, he can't catch, he can't block, doesn't run that well with the ball in his hands. If he does catch it, I'm not sure what he's out there for, to be honest with you, other than they just need a body because he just isn't very good.
No. You go ahead.
I was just going to say we're beating the offense to death. I think the defense deserves some credit. We talked about them being on the field for 42 plays or whatever it was in the second half, and the Chargers only running, I think, 21 plays. They were on the field way too much. This looked a lot like the Jaguars game in terms of time of possession and plays run. The score didn't match the Jaguars game because they got some stops. But I think the defense deserves a lot of credit. They're woefully undermanned on the defensive line, even more so now with Covington and Tito getting hurt. You've got Derwin playing linebacker for the majority of the game. We finally saw JT Woods on the field, and there were no huge blown coverages on the back end. The one blown coverage they had was Reader on a wide receiver, and that was just an ad lib, backyard football play.
Yeah.
That wasn't even the design of the play.
No.
They limited Kittle to 2 catches. I think Debo only had 2 catches. Debo only accounted for like 51 yards combined from scrimmage. They contained McCaffrey. He didn't really hurt them that much as a receiver except for on 1 catch. And I think he only averaged like 2.5 yards a carry. So they did some good things. I don't think they blitzed enough on third down. Again, when you've only got, and that's not on the players, obviously, that's on the coaching, that's on Staley for not understanding what works and calling it more of it. But with all the guys that are hurt and with as much time as they had to spend on the field, to be able to go in there and really only give up 2 offensive touchdowns on the road and still have a chance to win the game at the end, I think the defense deserves a lot of credit because a lot was asked of them. And I know they got gashed on the ground and they bent a lot, but they really didn't break all that much. And they kept the offense in the game. They had opportunities to win that game. They forced the turnover. They blocked the punt. They had opportunities. So I think the defense deserves some credit. And I think, aside from not blitzing on third down, which I think they need to do more of with the personnel they have on the field, I do think the coaching staff deserves some credit because they obviously made some adjustments with the personnel and with the scheme to put guys in a better position to succeed. And for the most part, it worked.
Yeah, no, like I was talking about it earlier. I said they played their asses off, but we jumped right into offense. But yeah, you're right. Debo had he had 2 catches for 24 yards. George Kittle had 1 catch for 21 yards. Christian McCaffrey was averaging 2.7 yards on the ground. They gave up 89 to Elijah Mitchell, 38 to McCaffrey, and 27 to Debo. But for the most part, that's 157 yards on the ground with a couple runs from Garoppolo. But it's pretty impressive the way in which this run defense has been so far this season, which has been downright awful. To come in here against a real dangerous 2-headed monster in Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey, though they ran it to effect in the end of the third, early fourth, and really held the ball for a long time. The fact that they were undermanned for so long, they deserve a ton of credit. This was not on the Chargers. They gave up 22 points on the road. I thought that they played a hell of a game. They held them to a couple field goals when they needed it. They gave them 2 chances to come in and score and win that game, and the offense just could not get it going. And, Ayuk accounted for the most with 84 yards, but to be able to hold Debo and George Kittle to 3 catches to 45 yards, that is really, really impressive. They basically erased their 2 biggest weapons and still found a way to lose on the road and without giving a ton on the ground. I just think defensively, this was just awesome. I think the first half kind of went best case scenario for the Chargers. I think they really came out the gates great, and they were firing, and they didn't have that slow start. I guess they were working all week on coming out of the gates hot, and they did. They went right down and scored immediately on that DeAndre Carter touchdown. But after that, the defense just throughout the game was very, very good. And I know, there was one touchdown to McCaffrey. One was a sneak in from Garoppolo, which was like real close. The second one was kind of when they're trying to catch their breath and were just sucking air, and they went hurry up and got McCaffrey when they weren't ready. But for the most part, I thought defensively through the air on the ground with the personnel they had, they were really, really impressive. This was definitely a shortcoming for the offense for me.
Yeah, it's all on the offense, and it's really on. I mean, obviously they have personnel issues on offense too right now with all the guys that are hurt, but I don't want to make excuses. They're just
because we saw what happened defensively.
Yeah.
They were able to get it done.
They were able to get it done, and they showed in the first half that they were able to move the ball. They didn't finish drives, but they did show that they were able to move the ball. They just they should have fired Lombardi at the trade deadline or at the bye.
Yeah, I know. Everybody in the comment is just on fire about Joe Lombardi. We've been trying to fire Lombardi for weeks now, so catch up already. This isn't the first time we're saying fire Lombardi.
Yeah, with the program.
We said last offseason. We didn't want him past this season, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, he should have been gone at the bye. Mm-hmm. And now I think it's reaching a point where it won't happen because they're going to make excuses with Mike being out and Keenan being out and Slater being out and Pipkins being out. They're going to make excuses that it's the injuries. It's not Joe Lombardi. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is this is the least creative offense in the NFL right now. It's stagnant. It's predictable. There is no effort to pick up yards in chunks for the most part. They are. They're basically, this is like a 1940s offense. They're looking to move the ball 3 yards at a time, set up a 3rd and 4 or better, and hopefully pick it up on 3rd down. There's just no effort to move the ball down the field. They have to find a way to get guys open in that 10 to 15 yard range at least if they can't get open down the field further, and they're just not doing it.
Yeah, and that end around right into Nick Bosa's lap isn't the creativity we're looking for.
No, that's not the creativity we're looking for, and that's not the time for it or the place for it. And this offense, even fully healthy, this offense is so slow from a speed standpoint that they run some of the slowest developing screens and sweeps and things like that I've ever seen at the NFL level. I mean, you could time these screens with a sundial, for crying out loud. They are so slow. They can't be doing that stuff. You can't afford to be running horizontally when you can't get vertical, because there's no way to make up lost yardage. You just can't do that. So I think Lombardi needs to go. I think it's time for Telesco and John Spanos, to have a conversation with Staley and say, you got to fire somebody, and it's going to be Joe Lombardi, or you're gone. Give him an ultimatum.
I think the Spanos need to look themselves in the mirror first, but that's not going to happen. They're not going to look inward on their shortcomings.
No,
and Telesco's married to Johnny Boy, so that ain't happening either. But somebody's got to be the fall guy, and it just was set up so perfect to have Shane Day transition in the bye as the OC and fire Lombardi. But here we are. Again, this was just a really poor showing in prime time, and they're probably gonna get on here and talk about that they hung tough on the road and how hard it is to win football games and how they had chances to win it, but it wasn't good enough. And there's a big overarching problem here that I just don't think that they're addressing right now. And this is a stale offense. You have a world-class quarterback at your disposal, and you're running these stick routes and all these uncreative play calls when there are 31 and moving on to every other football league wanting to would just beg to have an arm talent and quarterback like Herbert, and they want to just sit back there and play this outdated offense that, quite frankly, Joe Lombardi hasn't been successful with when he was an OC before. I mean, it worked in New Orleans for a little bit, but nobody's running that anymore, and I just don't know why we have to go to a outdated offense and passing scheme when we are so far ahead of that with the quarterback the Chargers have. So, I don't know. It's just I just know that right now there's a press conference going. We were in that game, and I'm proud of our defense, and we just came up short when really nobody's really looking in the mirror going, well, what's the issue with us coaching-wise, and why aren't we good enough? Maybe these players, even though I'm not going to make the excuse for these injured players, there's enough players on that field to win that game today, and they just didn't. They laid an egg in the second half, and you just can't do that in the NFL, and they found a way to do it on the road when they had a chance to win.
Yeah, I agree. I know they have personnel issues, but at some point you got to figure out a way to win with the guys that you have. You're paying these guys. They're professionals. You brought them in because you felt like they could help you win games, and you're not really giving them a chance to help you win games. So either you have poorly scouted these guys and you're admitting that you made a mistake bringing them on the team, or you're a shitty coach and you can't figure out how to put them in a position to win. If it's on a route-to-route basis or a pass rush-to-pass rush basis or whatever it might be, you need to find ways to put these guys in a position to be successful and help the team win, and they're not doing it. It's just they're so tied to this offense, this scheme, and it seems like they're so focused on keeping Herbert bound by the scheme instead of making the scheme fit him, that he is just automatically dumping balls off and giving up on plays. Because I think Nick said it in the chat earlier, it seems like that's the way he's being coached, because that's not the way he was playing when this coaching staff got here. And it seems like they've reined him in to the point that this has to be on the coaches. They have to be coaching him to play this way. I mean, he is robotic. They have turned him, this was said in the Discord, they've turned him into Alex Smith. And that's actually the way that they've got him playing right now, outside of a few wow throws here and there. That's actually an insult to Alex Smith, because Alex Smith won a lot of games and took the Chiefs to the playoffs. So they've made him into Captain Checkdown, and it's a crime what they're doing to him. And a lot of it is the offensive structure, and I just think it's the way they're teaching him to play, and I think it's a problem.
Yeah, free Justin Herbert. Mr. Hey 0701 said, Pop rest Staley if he was satisfied with the play calling, and Staley did not answer the question. I wouldn't either, because they're well, I would answer.
How do you answer it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what you say if you're Staley.
Yeah.
We're having the same conversation every single week. Every week.
Yeah.
So at one point do you just stop answering the question? Because one, he's got to be tired of answering the question, and two, he's got to be tired of seeing the same 5-yard routes every single play. It's killing me. It's got to be killing him.
No.
My career doesn't hang in the balance on what they're doing. His does.
Yeah. Nope. Just this after hours podcast, and what a bummer it becomes. Yeah. And if you guys want to ask any questions here, this is probably the time to do it. He's asked, Sam G's asked this before, why does every Chargers coach turn into Mike McCoy? And we've answered this to an extent, and that is just work your way up this Chargers branch, and you will find that answer. It's the same one every single time.
What are the two constants?
What's the common denominator exactly?
With Mike McCoy and Anthony Lynn and Brandon Staley, what are the constants? What's the common denominator? It's John Spanos. It's Dean Spanos.
Don't give them the answer. Let them work it out for themselves. We'll be the teachers here.
But okay, Sam. I want you to walk up to the whiteboard, and I want you to show your work.
Yep.
Draw out the organizational structure and show me what the common denominator is.
Let's make a pyramid.
Solve for the common denominator.
Yeah. If we make a pyramid, start at the coaches and then just start working your way up.
Give us your hypothesis and then prove it.
Right. Exactly. Oh, Sam, we love you though. Thanks. Let's see. Oh man, that was funny. Let's see why. Let's see. Just look at the questions here. Nathan here. Who's worse, Kyle Murray, Kenneth Murray, or Trey McKitty?
Wow.
I'll give you an answer. Today, Kenneth Murray made 2 plays today. One of which
he made 3. I think he made 3. There was one in the first half too, I think.
Okay, we can give him a third. Trey McKitty did nothing. And that dropped pass that should have been a touchdown, I just cannot forget about. So I would say
he actually physically took 4 points off the board.
Mm-hmm. So I'd say Trey McKitty. You agree there?
I'll go with that.
Okay. Let's see. Should we bring back Norv Turner?
No.
Okay. So the Chargers sit at 5-4. Can we do a record prediction? I guess we got to look at the schedule, huh?
Yep. You want to pull up the schedule and put it on the screen so we can look at it together?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead and go ahead. Let's see. I'm going to give you a question. You can answer it, and then we'll. Here we go. Go ahead and read that and answer it. I'll pull up the schedule.
Are the Spanoses giving motivational speeches to the players that are screwing up the players and coaches? I think that's in response to our explanation that the Spanoses are the problem. No, I don't think that's what's happening. I think the problem is that Dean installed his idiot son, John, as the VP of football operations. Now he's the president of football operations. John is cosplaying NFL executive. He gets all the credit when everything goes bad and when everything goes well, and everything gets blamed on the coaches and the GM when things don't go well. He does not belong in the position he's in. He would not be in this position for any other team in the NFL. And they are not hiring coaches or GMs based on their experience or how good they are at their job. They are hiring people based on whether or not they can work with John Spanos. So they're hiring friends for Johnny. They want people who play nice in the sandbox. And I think they found a duo that they like in Staley and Telesco, and they are probably going to be inclined to keep them around. It's why they're not going to hire Sean Payton. I do not think that's a reality at all, because Payton can come in here, put his ring on the table, and say, we're doing things my way. And that's just not how they operate. They want coaches they can control. They want coaches they can squeeze. They want coaches who can't come in and ask for things like control over the roster. And that's why they hire the guys they hire. And those guys get in here. They're ready to go. They're inexperienced. They're pumped up for their first job in the NFL, their first head coaching job in the NFL. And they slowly have the life sucked out of them. And then you wind up getting these guys like McCoy crying on the sideline as the Broncos are winning a game because they've had all their energy and life sucked out of them, and they realize that they're not actually in control of the team. That's the problem. How'd I do? Did I answer that one well? Did I pass that?
You did.
Did I pass the test?
Yep. All right. So let's go over the schedule here. Let me take this away. Okay, so next up, they play the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 11.
They're going to lose that game.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to put wins and losses here. I got that too. Okay. Then the Cardinals. Week 12.
I think they beat the Cardinals.
Okay, I do too. We agree there. All right, Raiders.
The Raiders are fucking pathetic. They'll beat the Raiders.
Dude, are they? Oh, man. Can we just marvel in the fact that the Raiders are just the laughingstock of the NFL right now? Well, maybe
they might actually have to fire Josh McDaniels before he sees year 2 of his contract.
I know.
And I would just like to say, I told you so.
They're going to be fighting for a number 1 pick here soon. All right. So
and
we
they'll
got
screw that up too.
they'll find a way. Yep. Okay. Then after the Raiders, it's the Dolphins.
This is going to be insufferable because they're going to lose to the Dolphins, and we're going to hear for weeks about how Tua is better than Herbert.
Yeah, I just think this Dolphins team is a lot like the 49ers team, and I don't know if they're going to be able to compete with that speed. I'm going to say loss too. Okay. Titans.
I don't think the Titans are very good. I think they can beat the Titans. I'll go with a win.
Okay. All right. I got them beating Jeff Saturday's Colts. You?
I agree.
Okay. And two more. Rams.
That's going to depend on. I heard Cooper Kupp got hurt today. That's going to depend on what his injury looks like. I feel like McVay outcoaches Staley, but if Kupp isn't playing, that's a totally different game.
Yeah.
I'm going to say. I'm not sure how good the Rams are. I'm going to say Chargers win.
Oh,
close.
Yeah. They win. Stafford's arm is absolutely cooked, especially here in Week 17. All right, Week 18 against another bad team in the AFC West. Do you see them beating the Denver Broncos?
Yeah, I think they beat the Broncos. I think the Broncos are going to be checked out by the time they get there, if they aren't already.
Jamie, we're back to 11-6, man. That's what
we
said
really?
at the beginning. That's what we said at the beginning of the season. We've got them going 6-2 to finish the year. How did that happen?
Did we miss something?
Oh man. Well, okay. All right. Let's see some more questions here that we maybe missed. Two-part question for Victor. Should we believe in this team to make the playoffs? And also, why not? Yeah, thank you. I know I love those. What free agents do you think from Christopher Fazzardo? Any free agents this week? Defensive line for sure.
They have to bring in at least one, if not two, defensive tackles. I'm sure they're going to elevate. No, they won't. They'll elevate Andrew Brown and they'll elevate Gaziano.
You don't think they're going to go after any free agent off the street?
Maybe one for the back of the rotation, but I think they'll elevate the guys from the practice squad.
Yeah, because there's Ndamukong Suh, Sheldon Richardson, Malik Jackson, Star Latulele.
Yeah, but these are guys they could have signed months or weeks ago. I don't
might
think
not have a choice now. That's what I'm saying. They didn't have a choice before, but I think they got to bring somebody from outside in.
I don't think they look at it that way. I don't think they're going to want to bring in somebody from the outside. I think they'd rather go with the young guys that they're developing so they can talk about their player development and how deep the practice squad is and how the practice squad guys are helping them win games. Maybe they bring in one guy for a workout, but I think they wind up elevating their two guys.
Okay, let's see. Just going through these questions here. Okay. Do we want to get dark here? Let's just read this from Magic Mike. If Spanos is going to be there forever and nothing's ever going to change, why would we remain as fans? And how long before we say enough is enough? Boy, is that a question every Charger fan has wrestled with.
Well, I would say we're Chargers fans, so we clearly aren't very smart. So we'll probably say never say enough is enough. That's my guess. We'll just keep going back.
No Harvard grads here amongst these Charger fans. Oh man. Do you think Mike comes back next game?
I know he said he wants to. Probably not. Do you think he comes back?
I think Keenan and Mike come back next week.
Do you know something? Or
no, I don't. No. This is total guess. It's total shot in the dark. It just feels like after losing this game and falling even further back in the AFC West, if they lose this game here, I just think with the importance of what this is on the line and being in prime time against the division rival, I think they push it and try to make it this week as a
I can
guess.
see that.
Let's see. What'd you think about Sorrell today? We haven't talked about him, Foster Sorrell.
He was pretty bad.
He was. Was he worse than Storm Norton, do you think?
Oof.
Pretty
I know we've
close
been
race,
saying
huh?
it's really hard to be worse than Storm Norton, but he was really bad. I mean, they could have probably called 5 or 6 false starts on him. He gave up a couple of sacks, I think. Seemed like whoever he was blocking was in Herbert's lap the whole game. So, I mean, maybe you can count on Storm Norton to get one good block in pass protection. So, yeah, he was probably worse than Storm, but it's a razor thin margin because they both suck.
Yeah, it felt like Sorrell was almost offsides every snap. He really fired out of his stance, which I appreciated, but man, was he cutting it close with those whistles.
One thing I will say is it seemed like off the snap, he was pretty good handling the initial move, but he was just getting decimated by spin moves and other counters. He couldn't hang for more than that initial contact. Once somebody went into their tool set for a counter, he was done.
I don't want to say Sorrell is worse than Storm. I don't think that's the case. I think he played better than Storm today. But I also do want to say he played against one of the best edge rushers in the league, if not the best right now. So
that's fair. It's a small sample size too.
Yeah. Yeah. And also if I don't want to rewrite history here, but back in the preseason, I wanted him cut during the second wave of cuts. I hated Sorrell in the preseason. So the fact that he's going to be starting right tackle here in week 10 was, I was not a fan of that. So Teddy Ruxpin says, call Will Fuller. He retired. A lot of people saying Will Fuller in the chat, so just know that he retired. He's not coming back. What do you think from Juan? Either Isaac Rochelle or Linval Joseph return.
Isn't Rochelle in Cleveland?
He just got cut.
Oh, did he? Mm-hmm. Well, there's a reason for that.
Yep.
I think, first of all, Rochelle is not a defensive tackle. He is more of a defensive end in a 4-3 base defense. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure he fits their scheme. I'm not sure he would get pushed around inside. I mean, he's a body and they need bodies, but I'm not sure how much he helps and how much he can fill the role that they need filled. And I think Joseph is shot. I think he was shot last year. Maybe he's fresher, not having played this year, but I'm not sure either one of those guys is the way to go. I just don't know how much either one of them helps.
No, I think the 4 names I mentioned earlier I'd have over both of those guys.
Which 4 names did you mention again?
Ndamukong Suh, Star Latulele,
Malik Jackson.
Malik Jackson, and Sheldon Richardson.
So Latulele would be a good replacement for Austin Johnson if they were going to go that route. They play somewhat similar positions. I think Latulele is kind of close to being shot too. Otherwise, he'd probably be on a roster. But if you're looking for a big body inside to play that 0 or 1 technique, Latulele would probably be the guy to go that route. If you're looking more for interior rush, then I would say you go with Suh if you're willing to deal with the, quote unquote character issues and some of the things that he's good. I think he has to play limited snaps. I'm not sure you really want him on the field on running downs, which is what they really need right now. But if you're looking for interior pressure, that's probably the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Have you watched the All In series from the Chargers? I
have not.
Okay.
Other than the clips that we've seen posted in the Discord, I really haven't watched it.
Yeah. I don't. It's fine. I mean, they're more hype videos than they are like any real docu-series type content, which I was hoping it would be kind of like a more Hard Knock style, but it's real like bland and kind of dry. And I enjoy the mic'd up a lot more than All In. And I also, I think those are going to get pretty tired after they keep losing. And then also that Hot Ones crossover they got, That's the way to go. That's the best video they've done all year. That one's a great crossover, and they could can this All In series. I'm over it. What do you think's worse, when Mike McCoy used to drop those run plays or Joe Lombardi's play calling?
How do you choose? They're both awful. I mean, the draw plays were just brutal.
Yeah.
But I think given the talent at quarterback, I would say probably Lombardi's play calling. I'll be in the moment.
Yeah. Man, those draws. I got real bad memories about those draws. I'm leaning Mike McCoy right now. Jason, what's up? Thanks for joining us, man. Should we consider going in on the Dicker or letting Hopkins walk? Dicker's been great.
Didn't they sign Hopkins for 3 years? I think there's an out after year 2. So I don't think they can let him walk yet financially. And they're already tight on the cap next year. So I think they'll stick with Hopkins, assuming he's healthy and can play.
Yeah, they're going to keep Hopkins. But, man, what luck have they had with Dicker and Birdlet? It's been great.
Dicker's been great.
Yeah, he really has. This is the most fun I've had after a loss. Thank you, Lightning Round. That's why we're here. There's been a lot of big laughs here. I was not thinking we were going to be so light and funny today. Let's see. How are you feeling about Zion?
I don't think he's been that great leply. A lot of that has to do with who's playing next to him. I just think they've had some communication breakdowns between him and Pipkins and Sorrell. But I thought he'd be a better pass protector. He hasn't been a great pass protector, and I think he's been kind of hit or miss in the running game. I don't think he's been nearly the bulldozer that I thought he'd be in the running game.
Yeah, real strong start to the season, kind of starting to fall off a little bit. I know not having a starting right tackle out there doesn't help, but even when he's had Pipkins out there, he hasn't been as strong as we expect. I think we have pretty high hopes for him. So still pretty good. Not like so egregious like Sorrell or Storm Norton, but still gave up a real bad pass rep today for, I think it was a sack or some kind of pressure on Herbert today. But yeah, it's not Zion not doing as well as we had hoped. We had talked about this last week when wide receivers. Peyton Toledo says tank for Jackson, the wide receiver. And
is he even playing right now? I don't think he's playing.
I don't care, Jamie. This is not the way to go at wide receiver. I said it last time, and this is a slow route specialist that I do not. Oh, and Nick says it right below it. The answer is not another slow route running specialist. That's exactly right.
I agree. I know people love him, and I'm sure he will be very successful in the NFL, but he is very redundant with the current wide receivers they have and the skill sets they have in that room. I do not think that's the way to go. And I mean, he gets open. He doesn't create a lot of separation. But I didn't love him like I expected to when I watched him during the summer as kind of a prep for draft prep. I just didn't really. I don't know. He's good, but I don't think he's the guy that people are making him out to be based on the skill set that he has.
No, he's been overhyped since last year. I'm
pretty sure he's been hurt all year too. I don't think he's playing.
Omar says, I feel Herbert is not as decisive as he was his rookie year. Is it him or the scheme? We touched on this, and it's not him. Well, it's part him, part scheme. I'd say little column A, little column B. You agree?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there are times where he's double pumping and hitching, and he's not getting the ball out quickly, and he seems like he doesn't. I've been saying it all year. I don't think he trusts what he's seeing. I think part of it's not necessarily trusting the receivers and not having the chemistry built up with the guys who are on the field and not trusting them to be where they're supposed to be. But when he does have holes in the zone, he's not trusting it and he's not letting it rip. He's pulling the ball down or the ball's getting out late. So, yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I don't think he's as decisive. I don't think he's as confident. I don't think he's as willing to attack down the field as he has been. He's just not the same guy. He looks. Part of it was injury. Now he's healthy, and you're starting to see flashes of it again, but it's still not consistent.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now we got to go action-based here, Jamie, because we can sit here and complain and bitch and whine after a loss. Ryan Scandura, what do you guys do to fix this team going into the Chiefs game outside of firing Lombardi? So Lombardi's safe, I would say. And are we working as a team here, Jamie? Or
Sure.
You go, okay, all right.
Let's work as a team.
First thing I'm doing is bringing in a free agent defensive lineman. I need somebody to plug a hole. You need bodies on that line. Andrew Brown doesn't help me. Joe Gaziano, I don't think, while I'd like to bring him up, I think bringing in one of those 4 names like Sheldon Richardson, Sue, or Starr, or Malik Jackson would help at least plug a hole early on in the interior of the defensive line. Right there, we got to stop the run if we're coaching. Because if the Chiefs can run the ball and you give Patrick Mahomes chances to throw the ball, they're in a lot of trouble. So right now they got to get bodies on the defensive line. You agree here?
I agree with that.
Okay. Who'd you bring in?
I think if the focus is stopping the run, I think you go probably with Star Lotulelei. That's probably the way I would go.
Okay.
I think the other guys are more interior pass rushers and not necessarily run stuffers.
Okay. All right. I'm thinking Sue is more of a destructive force inside, but we're also talking about guys that are clearly washed and aren't to their prime. So, okay. All right. So anyway, let's say we bring in Star Lotulelei. What's next, Jamie?
The next thing I would do is I would look to improve the wide receiver group. And I would make a call to Odell Beckham Jr. and see where he's at health-wise and what it would take to bring him in for the last 8 weeks of the season, 9 weeks of the season, whatever it is.
We're on 7.
This
is week 10?
They're 9-4. They're playing 17 games this week.
5
They're
and 4.
5-4.
Yeah.
So they played 9 games.
Yeah.
So there's 8 games left.
8. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I would see what it would take to get him to come in for the last 8 games. It's a half a season. He's hurt. He's been banged up. He's been hurt a lot the last couple of years. He hasn't played a full year in a while. So I would see what it would take to get him to come in. I think he would be a good complement to Keenan because he is, when Keenan comes back, because he is both a great route runner, but he also has that elusiveness and speed to get down the field. And even if Keenan doesn't come back, I think you can use him to take the top off the defense and open things up for guys underneath. So if we're going like, what's the word I'm looking for? If
Madden, Dream World, Fantasyland.
If we're going for like, like you said, Dream World, like perfect scenario, that's what I would do.
Yeah. All right. So we're bringing in Starr, bringing in Odell, and then what are we doing? Then we're blitzing a lot more on third down. That's for sure. I know Mahomes.
Then I'm changing the rules and I'm firing Lombardi.
That's
screw that rule.
Yeah, screw that rule. We're cleaning house. Oh, we got a new owner.
Oh,
we're taking everybody out. Forget you're thinking too small here, Jamie. Let's go big. Dean John, go sell hot dogs or whatever else you want to do at the concession stand.
All right. Well, if we're going that route, you and I can buy the team.
Yes.
We'll fire John. We'll fire
Dean.
Tom. Dean's
AG.
out because we paid him to go away.
Right.
And then we'll make all the decisions.
Easy.
We win.
I think we just did it.
We fixed it.
We solved. What do you guys want from us? We solved it. There we go. How are you feeling about?
We fire John and then we bring him back in a lower role, and then we fire him again, just for good measure.
Yeah, like equipment manager or something, and then just be like, no.
The guy that brings out the water bottles on the field for practice. And then
I kind of like the guy who's got to wash the jerseys afterwards. Like,
that's a good one.
I don't even want him on the field. I don't want to even see his face. How are you feeling about Spiller? Obviously not effective today, going against the best run defense in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah,
not a surprise, but
we've had a very limited sample size with Spiller, so it's hard to get hard to get a feel for him one way or the other or have a really strong opinion. But I thought we saw him make one nice jump cut in the hole last week. I think he's going to be a good pass protector. I think he'll be a good receiver once they start throwing to him. So I would like to see him get more touches as a running back so they can split Eckler out in the slot and try to get him the ball. So let's go back to the fixing the team question. I think we need to actually answer that
why didn't we,
seriously.
did we just solve it? Okay, all right. Okay.
So what would you do with the personnel they have to fix the offense?
To fix the offense, and I can't fire Lombardi.
You can't fire Lombardi.
Do I? I get. Well, first off, you got to get Mike Williams and Keenan Allen healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that count? I don't know. You can give them like a secret elixir.
So let's just say let's say you're Brandon Staley. Let's say we're Brandon Staley right now, and we're looking at the personnel we have and the scheme we have, and we know we need to make a change because shit ain't working. What are we doing with the scheme without firing Lombardi to put guys in better positions to succeed? What would you do?
Well, I am first off making sure that see, now I'm getting into like route concepts and stuff. You're just talking about like a general.
Start with personnel, talk about route concepts.
Okay. I need a new offensive line. Okay, I'm sorry. So I got a more quick timed offense. I don't have this drop back and run everybody at the sticks. I'm having a more like we kind of saw in the first half. There was a pick, there was some drags. We saw that deep out. I'm getting the ball in my receivers' hands quicker, and I'm not waiting for their routes to develop further downfield. I need to start getting the ball in their hands fast and hoping that I can get a little bit more yards after the catch. I just need to develop a little bit more than just running the ball twice into a wall and then running that sticks concept on third down. So what I'm doing is I'm having a more quick, fast-paced offense. I want to set that up so that I can get Justin some deep shots later.
I think picking up the tempo would help a lot because they're really slow right now getting guys on and off the field and getting guys lined up. I would pick up the pace. I would go with far more condensed formations, a lot more bunch, stacked. I would say multiple tight ends, but they don't have a useful tight end on the roster.
No.
I would get Eckler out in the slot more. I would try to find ways to get Bandy in the slot more. I would use a lot more motion because I think the offense is really stagnant right now. And you mentioned picks. I would use motion to create natural picks, run some wheel routes, find ways to get guys into space, catching the ball with their feet moving down the field instead of stopping their feet and turning their back to the defender, and try to create opportunities for some yak yards after the catch. I just think that they're so boxed in right now with the way they're running their offense that they're putting everybody in a bad position. And I think, you've got a guy like Palmer, who's a big physical receiver. He's not somebody who's going to win down the field a lot, but there's no reason you can't get him open behind the linebackers in front of the safeties for 10, 12, 15 yards, 5 or 6 times a game, and use him to move the ball in chunks to loosen things up and then get the stick to work or get guys open, more angle routes, more screens. Like you said, get the ball out quickly, but get the ball out quickly with guys moving up the field instead of stopping their feet and turning their backs to the defenders. I just feel like they're sedentary. They're stagnant.
Yeah.
And they need to put their guys in a better position to be athletes and make plays.
Yeah. I mean, the timing's too slow, and there's a lot of like grouping downfield, which I we've talked about for a few weeks, where guys are running routes into each other, into their area.
Even on one of those throws to Carter today, I swear Herbert was throwing that ball to McKitty.
McKitty, yeah, and he ducked.
McKitty fell down. thank God, and it actually went to somebody who could catch the ball. But I don't think that ball was intended for Carter. But the area was so congested that it was hard to tell who the ball was going to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a consistent theme all year. It's 3 guys within 5 or 6 yards of each other, just crowding one area. I don't know if they're trying to create picks and it just isn't working, but the spacing and the route structure is just terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so yeah, that's offensively. I think that's definitely something that could mix up and get this offense a little bit less predictable. Defensively, I can start. The one thing that they've had success with when they've played the Chiefs is there's 2 things they've done to Patrick Mahomes. 2 is that 2 high safety look. Anytime you go 1 high safety, Patrick Mahomes picks you apart. You have to be able to keep 2 safeties deep. I wouldn't mind seeing a Nasir and a Gilman deep and having Derwin kind of roam the middle and have an extra DB this week. And then also the other thing was to keep Patrick Mahomes boxed in. If any pressure from the sides up front is always good for Patrick Mahomes when you have that interior pressure, but keeping him boxed in and making him make a throw is a lot better than having him roll out and have those unscripted plays where he can get to that backyard football type mentality. You can't have that against Patrick Mahomes. So right now I'm making sure that we're keeping him boxed in, and I'm making sure that we got that 2 high look, because anytime any other team's ever gone 1 high safety, he scored over 42 points every time, I believe. So 2 high safety is easy. I mean, that's something the Chargers do anyway. So that's what I'm doing to start.
And I think with this skill group that the Chiefs have, even though they've done a good job of integrating them and evolving the offense to make things work for them, I think you got to get your hands on these guys. I don't think you can be giving them 10, 15-yard cushions on 3rd and 6. I think you got to get up and jam guys. I think you got to make Kelsey earn his way down the field, be physical with the wide receivers on the outside and in the slot, beat them up a little bit, make them earn their way down the field, and you got to be really, really disciplined getting up the field after Mahomes. You mentioned it. You got to have almost immediate interior pressure, and the edge guys just have to be disciplined and keep them penned in. You can't let them escape the pocket. And I think something this team does really well, but they don't do enough of, and it's a little scary to do it against Mahomes, but I think you got to blitz more on 3rd and medium, 3rd and long. Mm-hmm. You have to. You just can't let these guys sit in the pocket and pat the ball and wait for somebody to come open. You got to get in their face and hopefully make them make a bad decision.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I think Juju had an ugly injury today, by the way. I don't know if he's going to be good to go, but
really, I didn't see that.
Oh man. Yeah. And so wait a minute. Ryan said might be without Juju. I don't know who that second one's supposed to be. And Mikael Hardman, did he go down too? I didn't see that part. I don't know, but if that's the case, Derwin on Kelsey all day and try to have somebody else like Kadarius Toney or somebody else try to beat you. Oh, he just meant and it what? Auto-corrected to Ugandan? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What is this middle word you were trying to do, Ryan? Ugandan? Anyway, all right. Well, I think that's it. Do you have anything else? I didn't mean to hit that. Anything else you want to add before we get on today? I guess Hardman did not play today. He was out. So possible out next week.
No, I would just say fucking fire Joe Lombardi.
Already.
Do it like yesterday.
Do it like, man, somebody mentioned it earlier, but listen, we didn't like the hire when it started. When they hired him, we didn't like it. But we don't have to go back that far. But yeah, I mean, what do you do now? I mean, they're not going to end up firing him, so we just have to grin and bear it until hopefully they have Keenan and Mike back. What's going on here? So what? I don't know what your question was, Jaffa. You can send it back in. And I don't know what Nick's talking about and cursing about here, but I think we're pretty good. Unless Jaffa, you can get it off.
What is Nick not cursing about?
I don't know. He's always cursing about something. I'm Matt. Who did what? Okay. Anyway, I don't know what he's yelling at, but who liked the Joe Lombardi hire? Boy, it's like when you like are cursing in a chat. It's like it's hard to add context to it when you've been off that for 5 minutes. All right, Jaffe. I guess if you got that question, send it back in. But I think we're pretty good. Last question: who would you rather have, Lombardi or Wisenhunt?
God, I hate these questions.
Okay, let's not do it. All right, we're done. That's it. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you so much, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.